Welcome to NSG Takedown. This is Stephen Max from NSGWrestling.com, editor and promoter. Today's topic will be covering the MMA and what's wrong about the early days of the UFC. Dana White says John McCain wasn't wrong about the early days of the UFC. The moment fans will likely comprehend that fighting for the generation 20 years of the UFC isn't just another in-house documentary, occurs when most famous former enemy of mixed martial arts, Arizona Senator John McCain, gives his stamp of approval. The crankish Republican isn't the only Washington heavyweight to appear. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid also appeared in the film, which debuts on Fox Sports 1 on Tuesday, November 5th. But it was McCain's campaign against the sport in the late 90s which nearly killed the MMA in its infancy. He could have said, "Nah, I don't want this to be part of this," UFC President Dana White, following the private screening of the documentary at the Soho House on the Sunset Strip. He wasn't wrong about the early days, he was right. They needed to be sanctioned. The fact that he comes out and says, yes, it's a sport now. I like the changes and I like the way they've done, and it's a testament to him and to the sport. McCain's appearance is just one of several unexpected scenes in a full-length feature, which touches upon a wide variety of subjects relating to the company's remarkable journey from one pay-per-view novelty to the network television juggernaut, which changed the face of both martial arts and the combat sport industry. We don't put this film together to shine spotlight on the fajitas and Dana White and talk about the wonderful we all are. Zuffa chairman of CEO Lorenzo Fertitta said that the television interview with Yahoo Sports, "We wanted to put together a complete and faithful representation of the story of the UFC, something that will hold up in another 20 years down the road. Many of the items one would expect to find in such a film here: the UFC's origin, the political opposition spearheaded by McCain, the sale of the company to Fajitas, and the struggling and the huge financial losses incurred by the new owners. The success of Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock, the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, and the major cards such as UFC 100 2009 and UFC 129, which drew more than 55,000 fans to Toronto Rogers Center in 2011. But it's the footage you're not expecting, stuff you assume don't exist, which will jump out in the viewer. VHS footage from UFC co-founder Rorion Gracie's personal collections, such as the Underground Gracie Challenge films, shot in Gracie's Terrace, California garage during the 80s, bringing the sport early to its days into life. Sifting through the B-roll was the responsibility of UFC's Executive Vice President of Operations and Development, Craig Barassi. 53 people pop up in the final product. There were more than 60 interviews conducted, Barassi said. As we went through every subject, someone like Rorion would say, "I think I have a VHS tape of that." And we said, "We'll take it." That's where most of the really cool old stuff came from. Just going through hours and hours of tape just to get the clip that you see and instantly know it's something the fans will love. Of course, with the colorful 20-year history and a couple hundreds events until their belts, narrowing down the footage to fit 90-minute window needs solid material is going to end up on a cutting room floor. While some no doubt find things to nitpick in the presentation, really do fans expect Zuffa-produced documentary to delve into issues like fighter pay? There's no attention to whitewash history. For one former light heavyweight champion, Ortiz, who might be the UFC's public enemy number one these days, is prominently featured in the piece. Others who have been on the outs with the company over the years, from pioneering referee like Big John McCarthy to several involved in UFC origin ownership group, are likewise given plenty of face time. The Ken Tito story is in there, White said. I can't stand either one of them. The stories that needed to be told are in this thing. There's no blasting of Tito in this thing, and there's no blasting of anybody. It's a true story, and it's the way that it should be told. This isn't a negative story. There's no personal beefs. There's no negative towards anyone. This is just part of Barassi said that there weren't any important chapters in the company's history that were left on the cutting room floor. But his one regret was having trimmed a certain section to fit the window. It was more compressing to the product so that it was a story told and could be understood, comprehended and appreciated, Barassi said. In my opinion, we didn't talk about the acquisitions enough. Kind of grazed over that. We could have done more on Pride and WEC. Of course, plenty of space is given to the debut season of The Ultimate Fighter and the reality TV series, which largely credits Zoffa's turnaround. The image of fresh-faced fighters who went on to become UFC mainstays serve as a vivid reminder of just how far the sport has come. Without Bobby Southworth, without Josh Koscheck, without Chris LeBron, Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian, Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonar, we could have not have picked a better cast than the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, White said. And you get to see it in there. Spike TV exclusives. We're picking these guys with stories and all these expeditive, and I'm like, hell no. I'm looking for people who can fight. And I hope you like their stories, because this is what they're doing. And if it doesn't sum up to the story of the UFC over the past 20 years, then nothing does. It's a story about the business of the UFC over the 20 years, Fajita said, but it's also a story about people without the guys who step in there and deliver the action in the octagon. The UFC wouldn't have become what it is become. This is Stephen Max from NSG Takedown, representing NSGWrestling.com. Please subscribe and follow us on Twitter. And any comments you can put in the comment section. Thank you very much.